So good morning. Thank you for sticking it out. I know sometimes it gets hard to listen to things online and it becomes repetitive. So hopefully everybody's actually still here and ready to go because I'm going to make you work. My name is Alexis Turnbull and I'm actually the designer of Math Cafe. This is something that I came up with last year and John was like, absolutely, let's roll with it. He changed the colors and here we all are today. So welcome to EduProtocols Worldwide 7. Let's start just by playing. Type your solution in the chat. So today's total is 43. You need to spend the exact amount using in the restaurant. Using words and numbers, explain how you spent the money. Ooh, I really made you guys think I picked a mean number. So I'm gonna start. So just go ahead and start. And then if you're okay with just giving you feedback, put a star by your explanation, but I don't want to just pick on somebody that doesn't want to be picked on. So go ahead and in the chat, please spend $43. Okay. So I would buy 4 orders of bacon for, no, actually I'm gonna buy 5. So I'm typing mine in the chat. I would buy 5 orders of bacon for $20. Next, I would get 2 burgers for $10. I have, so right now in the chat, we are working on what you would buy that would total $43 in the chat. So 8 orders of burgers is $40 and 1 with onions. Thank you, Kia. Perfect. And then if I were to give student feedback, I might tell Kia to explain how you got the total to 40. So you ordered 8. What did you do? You would say oh, I ordered 8 orders of burgers and 5 times 8 is 40. If I knew that, I hope it's Kia. I hope I'm saying it right. If I knew that Kia was a student that needed more challenging, I'd even go over and be like, oh, it looks like you took the easy way out. I need you to get at least 6 items that are different. Sydney said 2 burgers, 2 fried chickens is 20, 1 Swiss cheese, 1 onion strings is 8, and 2 grilled onions is 6. Thank you, Cindy. I might say Sydney. There we go. I would say that's good, but now that just like language arts, you need to make it into more of a narrative and use transition words. All right, Kelly Baker is back. So in the chat, we've got a couple people that are putting how they would spend $43. And as you can see, this is very low floor, high ceiling. I could think of a little boy that was in my 3rd grade class last year, and he would go straight to the tomatoes. I would buy 43 tomatoes at $1 each. Virginia, I would order fried chicken, grilled chicken, and a burger, $15, 1 bacon, 1 Swiss, 1 onion for 12, 3 grilled onions, chili, American cheese, jalapeno, mushroom pickle. Perfect. Oh, I love that, Virginia. You really took your time to make sure that you were getting in a variety of items. I love it. So I'm going to continue. Do you guys notice that I did not provide a platform for you to draw on? This is not a show and tell, nor is it a sketch and tell. This EduProtocol that I'm presenting, we're focusing on explaining the process of mathematical thinking. Students can use paper or a whiteboard or even a calculator, depending on what you're trying to focus on. And and I thank you, those of you that are still doing it in the chat. The drive of this protocol is to get the students to connect writing in English class to writing in math class. And a lot of times I would even take their work away because I'd have them maybe type a half-witted answer and then they'd be pointing to it to me on the paper, and it was about getting them the picture. It was getting them to make that transfer to math writing in words. So the instructional goals behind Math Cafe are reading comprehension, even when the procedure is familiar, to meet the needs of multiple learners. Like I shared, low floor, high ceiling. My high students I can challenge to push further. Some students I would be absolutely happy that my little boy got 43 pieces of onion for $43 at $1 each. That would be like, either way, both kids got to be successful in my math class that day. It's to get comfortable with open-ended problems. Your neighbor can be correct with a different answer. And then if you are in the state of California, it is to prepare for that lovely California state test called the Math Performance Task. So just to start, I'm going to kind of paint a picture. There are two types of math problems, and I like to relate it to the real world. There's a closed-ended problem, which would be tying your shoe in a bow knot. There's about 1 to 2 ways that you can tie your shoe in a bow knot, and everybody's answer looks identical. Some people do like something with like 1 string, and I do like 2 loops and I fold it. So there's a couple ways, but it's all gonna look the same. Versus securing a, don't let the boat fly away or float away. There's many ways you can tie a boat. Everybody's knot is gonna look different, but it's gonna reach the same goal. One of the faults I find in traditional math curriculum, and why I encourage you to ditch that textbook, is that if there was a curriculum about knot tying presented with a company called McBoathill, this is what it would look like. Day 1, how to tie the bow traditionally. Day 3, tying the bow with bunny ears. Day 9, tying a boat number 1. Day 17, tying a boat number 2. Day 127, putting it all together. That is the phrase I dislike the most in any curriculum, is when they say putting it all together at the end. So we've been tying shoes, and then we're going to tie knots. And then at some point, we're all going to put it together. The goal of using Math Cafe to fidelity is that we're putting it all together from day 1, week 1. They need both all year. First, tie your shoe in a bow knot, and then don't let the boat fly away. We're doing both, and we're running both at once. It's not one or the other, it's both. So just to give you a kind of a look, if you're not familiar with what the CASP is, but just so that you can see what I'm referencing to, this would be a question from the 3rd grade practice 1. They'd have a table. They have results from a previous problem, and then they're looking at error analysis and explaining why somebody is correct. A lot of the math curriculums that I use, I'm finding, don't have this error analysis piece, which is why I like to build it into the Math Cafe. And even to the point last year, I had a student named Leela, and when I was running, because I usually run the official CASP performance task about a few weeks before the state test, and she got to this slide and she said, "This reminds me of Math Cafe." And I was like, yes, like that was what I was trying to do. I have myself, like that was what I wanted, was to create an experience that would give them skills they needed and be meaningful to them the whole year, so that it would be a direct transfer, because I believe the test shouldn't be anything new or different from how your classroom functions on a typical day. And then for the upper, if you are teaching upper grades, I believe, I can tell you, I think I maybe pulled this from 5th, but just to give you another example where we've got a table, we've got reasoning. High school, same thing, completing things in a table. We're comparing 2 situations. And then in the 7th grade, let's paint a room. It's the same thing where you are solving and explaining why somebody is incorrect. So again, that error analysis piece. So how long should it take? With enough reps and standard adding and subtracting, no decimals or fractions, it should be 10 minutes or less per day. If you do it every day, and then obviously at the start of the year, it's a bit slower. I believe just asking about that right before the session started, so I'll get into that piece. I've also been asked, what does it look like in the classroom, because you have to follow your district curriculum. So this is just my EduProtocols Morning of Math. I taught 2 years 7th grade. This is from my 2 years teaching 3rd grade. I'm currently a math intervention teacher, so I don't have a little bit of a different routine that's more complex. But a day in my classroom, I would spend at the start of the year 30 minutes of fast and curious, multiplication, division, fractions, all that. And then as the kids master the standards, I would dwindle it down to 15. So I emphasize the fast and curious at the beginning longer, and all my students in 2 years, all my students with the exception of 1 or 2 have learned all their multiplication 1 through 10 by October. So starting off with fast and curious, and then my district curriculum was Go Math. So I would maybe model 1 or 2 problems. I'd give them partner work, and then they'd go to their seat work where they would be working on their district curriculum. And then when they finish that, they go into Math Cafe, and then I would tap them if they weren't done with their district curriculum math work by 8:50. I would kind of like, hey, you can move on to Math Cafe, and tap them out. And then I would bring everybody back, one specific exit ticket on an index card that I immediately collect, and then go into tier 2 intervention, which would be pulling the kids that have not gotten the standard. So as you can see, this is a whole day. I'm following the district curriculum, but I've still managed to wedge in my Math Cafe during the day. And then once they get into the routine, it'll be really smooth. It's very easy to build on. So as you can see, there's transfer. We've got the manager piece for the first customer. It talks about what they ordered, and you're doing your reasoning skills. So Kelly did ask, do I also do math reps? I do not. I do this instead just because I do a lot of different things, and for myself, because the school was the schools that I've been on are very into like their adopted curriculums and things. It was too challenging for me personally to build it in, like being new at that school, and I don't like to try a lot of new things at once. So I'd be open to trying math reps, but I have not gotten them into a consistent routine. But actually, to go back on that, I would say that I'm not going backwards. Right here, this tier 2 intervention time, that would be a good time to have to put them on a math rep. So you can do this, and you can do math reps as well. All right, so these are the roles, and these are the goals. When we have on, so you start, you just burn through the days of the week. Day 1, they're the customer, they have to spend money. Day 2, they're told about a customer, and then they have to spend more. So again, this gives the open ending of like the customer spent $26, spend more than them. One kid might spend 100, one kid might spend 27, but they were all working their brains. The cashier day, you work on your error analysis, explain what mistakes she made and why. The manager is when you're totaling and comparing. So you're giving them different situations who spent the most money. That one is closed ended, but it's giving them the rationing pieces. And then the chef creates an order to spend a given amount. So that would be that part whole. So it would say that you had this much money, he buys these things, and now you need to spend the rest, which is a skill that a lot of the students need to work on, just like finishing and getting to 0. Because they're so used to that direct step of like, oh, I have to solve the problem. They'll tell me like how much this chef has spent, and they miss that bottom piece of spend the rest of the money. All right, it is time to snorkel, kind of. If you have not heard of Snorkel, Snorkel is a tool that uses AI to give feedback to your students. And the teacher makes an account. The students do not need to make an account. It's an open response platform that provides feedback using AI, meaning that it's a flat page that students manipulate the tools such as drawing, adding images, shapes, and text boxes. If you were familiar with Seesaw during the pandemic, this is Seesaw, but with an AI feature in it. So the idea with this is that it self-checks the student's work in a way that's clear. Obviously, it's not for like huge, like they still can't add and subtract within 1,000 at the 4th grade, but this would be like to kind of get them to do their, to improve on their writing and their thinking. So the way that Snorkel will work when you get onto it is that these tools are at the top. I'd like you to use the text box. And then at the end, there is an end and review. There also is a recording piece you can turn on where students can record their explanations, but just for our sake and purposes, I just have it on so that it's typing only right now. So let's play again. Let's all go to joinsnorkel.app, and I'm also going to put it in the chat. Share, copy the link. in the chat. And then if you are in the middle of something and listening, that's okay. But okay, good. We've got people on because I want to be able to show some of the tools that it can do, but I need people to I need people to join it so that we can kind of populate it with our information. And then the other key piece to this math cafe is that it's food, it's highly engaging, it's relatable. And then as an extension for students who, if you ever have like the ones that are like above and beyond that just need more to do. I had a girl last year and she was very into, her family practiced Indian culture. And so she wanted to make, in her words, an Indian restaurant math cafe. So she built her own board with different things that were of her Indian culture, like different foods, and then the class got to play with her board. It provides an opportunity for student input. Oh, cool. So Kelly's right now, Kelly's kind of demoing for us if you want to see. Right now it's generating feedback. So I'm going to add to Kelly's. Actually, I think, can I do the rubric? Let's see, settings. So I'm going to add to Kelly's because you can add. I'm going to make it fair. And I'm going to say, please use complete sentences and typing. And then now on Kelly's end, she will see that hers, did it refresh for you, Kelly?
Give me a sec, I'm moving between screens.
Okay. So I love this one. We've got Andrea. She got 2 out of 4. It said, good job figuring out the register is wrong. Can you share with me how you got 8 by writing the process of your workout? And what specific mistake do you think the cashier made when making the order? So as you can see, it kind of, this puts the stop sign on when the kids that are like rushing to get it done or that are not expanding with their answers, this AI is forcing them to expand it and it's getting to them faster than I would. Because one of the things I'm finding this year in my role as a math intervention teacher is that many of the students that need the math intervention, it's actually because the class is too slow and they don't have that attentiveness. And I don't know how to fix that. I don't know how to build that. I think that it's just something that has dwindled away with society, that as time goes on, attention spans are going down. And I don't believe that this is something that one classroom teacher can fix because the world is just so fast moving. Everything is so on demand. So I do see a lot of value in having the AI feedback because it's quick with the kids and their thinking. See, and then we got another one. Next time, try writing your answer in complete sentences with capital letters and periods. And then let me show you on the insight side. This is now also saving me time because I have done in the past when I give assessments or when I'm looking at the way I'm teaching, I trend stack. So like mainly for writing, I stat based on like, okay, these ones don't have good intros. These ones don't have good endings. These ones aren't explaining their reasonings. So this is kind of trend stacking it for me without me having to work. So, and then it gives me this direct feedback. It's saying that there's a group, students in this group are understanding. Kelly Baker needs to work on her writing conventions. Andrea needs to work on mistake identification, and Kia did not show how to compute the correct total. And then if you ever did on the teacher's side, what I did was I put a screenshot of my Google slide, and then I didn't even have to put the instructions, and I had it auto-generate the feedback. And then I also added to follow the conventions of writing onto it. I thought John said that Math Cafe was going to go to Snorkel soon, but it has not happened yet. And that conversation happened in July. So I don't know, but you can put it on there yourself. Or if you don't want to use AI feedback yet, don't feel ready for it, you can do it in the Google Classroom as well. So thank you guys for trying that out with me. I appreciate you. We're doing okay. Good on time. So one of the just the little teacher tools that will help you is that when you are assigning it, make sure you hit the settings for guest login. If you don't want them creating accounts, I generally don't like the students creating accounts just because districts are so weird with their privacy and everything. And it also takes long to log in. How many different menus do I have? 4? Maybe 4? That is actually a piece we're going to talk about, and I will share my document with you, but I have, there's a dino one. There's one that just reminds me of if you lived in California and you knew what a hometown buffet was, this menu reminds me of the hometown buffet. I have a candy one. And then eventually I also want to build some item ones, just because not everybody wants to talk about food, and there could be classrooms where I don't know the condition, but there's something where that people are physically afraid of food, and it makes them ill. So just to have a board ready for should somebody cross a student like that. So yeah, make sure it's on guest login. And then as I showed before, this is what the answer criteria was, that you can edit it. And then this is what the feedback would look like. And then the other big piece, skip too far. The other big piece that I like about this too is that it has that speaking. And I know generally on the Chromebooks, I can train my students to get it to speak to the most screens for my students that are on IEPs and are non-readers. But I like that it just builds it in so that they can listen to it, get their feedback, and go back and fix it. And then just to kind of go into AI for a second, just like when you have children, you need to know what they need. When you have kids, do they need to be in a kiddie pool to have fun, or do they need to wear a lifeguard or a life jacket? Set your rubric to meet the needs of most of your learners. So on this one, I bought 12 onions for $12. Even in the rubric, it says to filter out the easy answers. And there will be some kids, my specific little boy that I had to help change his settings and change his placement last year. This absolutely would be his answer. And on my side, I would just input it for him that it would go higher than it was, and we'd recognize that he did a good job. And set a bar to where most of your students are, and then any of them will rise there, and you personally push the higher ones further than they need to go, or validate the lower ones that have done their best but have not met the best rubric criteria yet. Does Snorkel show you the first score and then the improved score? Yes, it shows you all the versions of it, and I actually do want to show that. So it shows, see how Audra's it shows the different times, and then it goes to excellent, strong. So it does show when you click on their name. If you did have them make accounts, it does it in more of an organized way. But personally, how I would implement this, it also allows them to go back to a previous one in case they can revert it as well. For myself, I would use the feedback as an active working tool. And then I was always standards-based grading, so there really is not a place in the report cards that I would put this. But if I did want to collect it as assessment data, I would assign it physically on paper or on like Google Classroom or a platform, just because I like to have like a backup hard copy so that if a parent questions the grade, they can see that like this is how they're doing with no revisions, because I did run into that last year. I do a lot of instant feedback. So parents were looking on the Google Classroom and they're like, oh, they're writing all these essays. And I'm like, yeah, that's with me. That's with me making them better. Like, that's not, there's one is, of a trimester, there maybe will be 1 or 2 assignments I have them do independently to get a benchmark. But anything you see that's beautiful and perfect is something that we're doing all together. Yes, and then Kelly adds that it allows the students to go back to a previous one in case they're all of that. So like I said, I don't use Snorkel as a grade, so that's not a side that I've looked at, but that is an option that you have. And before we get, I do want to show on Snorkel the EduProtocols page in case unless the computer doesn't want you to. So you would go, this is how it looks. You go to Math Cafe, you'd have to create and upload. But if you have not seen it on Snorkel, we have this EduProtocols corner right here. There's the sketch and tell that I did. 8 parts. If I had to go back and teach 3rd grade again, I would absolutely use 8 parts on AI for feedback because it goes faster than me. And I feel like this is it's an easy fix. So it would be more beneficial and more helpful to the flow of the classroom for them to get that automatic instant feedback instead of raising their hand and waiting for me to come check it and tell them what to work on. So I would highly recommend Snorkel for 8 parts as well. Again, that was in the EduProtocols folder. All right, so now I'm going to do a little demo of it and how you can use it for Cafe. Personally, I love AI because I'm like a really creative teacher and I like themes. So for example, last year we went to see The Little Mermaid with my class. And so for that morning, I went to one of the AI tools and I said, hey, make me a series of word problems that are multiplication and division themed around The Little Mermaid. And then I put on the Little Mermaid music and then the kids were around the room doing Little Mermaid math problems before we went to see the performance of it. So AI has helped me do things that are themed. AI has also been a huge asset to my opinion writing and informational writing because I think of fun topics and then I have AI make the sources for me. Like last year after I watched Wicked, I had AI make me articles about 2 different animal teachers with different personalities, and then the kids got to write an opinion essay of which one they would want to teach their class and why. So a lot of good things come from AI, especially when you want something specific, but you don't want to make it. So I'm going to demonstrate how to use AI to create roles for the Math Cafe so that you don't have to think about it. And then once you create the roles, the nice thing is you're locked in. You can just go every week and change the numbers. So for myself, when I was running this on Google Classroom, I just had I had a customer assignment, a cashier assignment. I had all the assignments set and the directions instead of on the slide were in the instructions on Google Classroom. So every week when I would go through and I would repost, I would just go change out the numbers. So once you get a good thing going, I will give you the link in a second, but you're going to, when you click on this key, you can download the PDF file. You're going to tell Google Gemini that it showed create a prompt for each role. So what this document is, and I made AI do it for me before. But I'm going to do it again just so you guys can see this document that I'm going to give you explains Math Cafe to AI. So it's a demo document. It's telling AI, this is what I want. And then it's showing them, here are my 4 menus. So you need to tell Google Gemini about the document. And then you're going to say, using the board that showed, and I'm going to say McDonald's, create a prompt for each role that the students have to solve. And what I also like about this is that if you have students who need to just see it in writing, it also produces it in words. So now we've got customer, find and spend all the money, customer plus, spend more, cashier manager. So you would just copy and paste these into your wherever you're assigning the work. And then you go through and say you want to use the McDonald's board all month long. Next Monday, 11, 12, 13, change up the cashier one does need to be changed a little bit more. And the manager needs to be changed a little bit more. And then the chef just change the number, and then it's reusable every week. You don't have to struggle with like, oh, how do I start from scratch when I run out? And you can always add a new board, and you can always make your own board too. So now I'm going to give you the document. And this is on my Google Drive, so you'll download your own copy for yourself. And I had to think on this one because I was like, how do I teach AI about this procedure so that it knows what to do? So I kind of had to like, okay, like go basic. I don't know if I still have a simple greet. Yeah. So I was nice to it. I started with, hi, can I teach you about something? And then it said it wanted to learn. So I asked it to learn about Math Cafe. And then I gave it the document and it seemed like it understood it. So I was like, all right, let's see what you can do, Gemini. So you guys have that link to the document now. I'm going to put the prompt in the chat. I did try having it create a board, but I haven't found an AI platform that makes like a visually aesthetic board yet. And that's part of why I find Math Cafe appealing and why I designed it was the visuals. So you could say like using the board, you could say like create your own menu using Mexican foods, and some of the foods cost the same amount, but it doesn't give you that visual piece. So here's the prompt and the document, and then go ahead and try on Google Gemini to see what it can come up with, and we can kind of troubleshoot it together. Yes, you can create a gem with everything you want or need and then go back each time to update. Yes, that as well. This was just a quick like. Okay. I actually didn't even know what. Okay.
I created a gem so that I don't have to do things every single time for my GATE students and my to differentiate for them. So
okay,
that
is
one of those
cool.
things I just started playing with recently.
I like that. See, I use a lot of Chat GPT, but I was like, let me try Google just to see. My favorite one for informational tests is actually Magic School AI. Does this only work with the menus? For example, if I am working about 8th grade students to teach them about dilations on a grid. So that is the like extension of this, is that we can sort of start to like just with the mindset of analysts that you could create a scenario to form it to what you need. I'm gonna be real honest, I don't know what a dilation on a grid is. Try and explain it to me. Or I guess I could look it up. Like scale factor? Is that what we're? Oh, okay, I know scale factor. So what you could do is I would make, because I've actually taught scale factor, I would make a series of images, and then the different roles would be like, to go somewhere with this, like there would be different like where you'd be like, what is the scale factor? Is the scale factor correct? Why is this not scale? With like a menu board of a series of different images. So you could go there. Another good place that you could go would be the 7th grade standard of percents. You could do with like physical items, and you could build in taxes, discounts, and sales. Not physical items, like non-food items. and make it like shopping themed. If you were doing ratios and rates, you could do it with like different colors of paints, like red, you have red and blue, and then there's like deep purple, which is, and then give like a different ratio for each of them. And you could use it to compare ratios that way as well. Like what is the ratio going to be correct? But the main thing behind using Math Cafe is that it's building on like the same procedures so that they can become familiar with walking the routine and then ready to and stronger at running with it, so that you're doing it the whole year, so that it's, a couple minutes of like, I don't know what to do, I need help. And then a few weeks in, once we've done enough reps, they're going to be like, I got this on my own. And their mind is just going to go straight to the skill and straight to the thinking. So going back, I do have I did a screenshot from it. This was when I asked it to make the dino nuggets, and it got me this table. And then from there, I can just copy paste that onto whatever activity I'm using, whether it be Snorkel, whether it be Google Classroom. This could also work on Nearpod. The only thing I will say is that it would be just be very intentional with the modeling. The only downside of Snorkel that I see right now is you can't turn off the drawing tools. And again, the hard focus behind doing this as Math Cafe is writing. So you would just have to like remind them that this is not an opportunity to draw or to use the drawing tools during it. So does anyone have any like questions or ideas about how you could use Math Cafe with your standards? And you can also change, if you build your own boards, you can change the prices so that if you have a grade level decimals, you can be using the decimals as well. So actually, while we're here, Christina, I'm going to see if Google Gemini can do that. Like now that it knows about Math Cafe, can it make me something about dilations? You make something similar that make it about identifying if a set of images are to scale. And I think this might be another one of those, like, we need to think on it and get it to. Oh, this is cool. Custom centimeters to be represented at 4. What scale factor is required? A graphic designer needs to scale. Okay, so Christina, we were on to something there. Disneyland brains think together. No, I don't know how accurate or relevant close to the standard this is, but I mean, it seems like it's on the right track. So thank you for adding that about the dilations. Do you ever have your students complete it in paper pencil? I'm gonna put a little star on that and say sort of. One of the personal things that I find as like a barrier to being receptive about making mistakes is that when you have a pencil and a paper, it is very tasking and frustrating to keep erasing and fixing. And I find that when I have students type, they're more resilient because it's just so much easier to delete it. Like I see less. I mean, some kids are fine, but when I'm just speaking on like the certain ends of like why students stop being receptive to feedback, one of the barriers is the physical act of erasing, having to erase, ripping the paper up. So just the idea of deleting things, I feel that they're more receptive to feedback on the computers and it goes faster. But if I wanted to use this as like hard data to measure how they were doing and I wasn't going to have them do feedback, absolutely paper pencil. So thank you for asking that. I mean, too, you could also use whiteboards if you wanted to just project it. So for paper, we've been told have students use markers so we can see their process. So yes, that is in mathematics, but with this, because the focus is on writing, it's more like, does that make sense? That it's more like, it's about having a good written couple sentences. So I want the old stuff to go away. But yes, I'm done with pencils. Like, I think if I'm an intervention teacher right now, but if I go back to the classroom, I only want gel pens, because erasing just takes so much time. I just like to train the students to, like, when you do make a mistake, you just draw a line and then you continue next to it, and not a big scribble scrabble. Snorkel, there's a million ways to do it. Even say it was like a field trip day and you didn't want to get out computers, you didn't really want to get out anything, you could have them just do it orally. And then I would not have made this math cafe if it were not for Owen Ross and Erica Bennett. They were the most amazing principals I ever had. That was the best year of my career. And I learned so much about the state testing. I wish I would have been able to stay. And my kids last year, though, at a different school, they were the ones that helped me test out this protocol, and they loved EduProtocols because I loved EduProtocols. And we wouldn't all be here today if it was not for those people. So EduProtocols Plus, this is not the actual link to the templates anymore, but if you need that link, let me know. I like all my EduProtocols, I put them onto my personal Google Drive, and then if I do move schools or districts, I just make a copy of the file into my new district account, and I have everything that I need to be teaching there. I feel like I'm all moved in and it's already organized to how I'm used to seeing it. We have a Facebook group. Even if you don't like Facebook, don't want to have your friends found you, don't want to have your family find you, make a Facebook, make a fake name, go to EduProtocols and have that be the only thing you look at. I promise you it's worth it. Teaching can be lonely, especially when you like think differently and you're not at a school where other people think the same way. So I have had so much fun just being a part of that group, sharing what I do, reading what other people do. It's just a good place to be. So my name is Alexis Turnbull. I've done 2 years of middle school math and science, 2 years at 2 very different schools with 3rd grade. I'm a math intervention teacher. I found EduProtocols in my first year, and I have watched the process of seeing myself teach with minimal EduProtocols to my 2nd year, seeing more EduProtocols, and just seeing the night and day of like teaching the same unit, but teaching it differently. It has made me such a, I don't like to say a better teacher, because it's really about making the experience better for my students. I am on X, if you're still on X, and you can get today's slides at tinyurl.com/ I don't have a link for myself. I'm oopsie doodles. Okay. So this does not work. I'm just going to put the link in the chat. That is for my other presentation if you missed it. You're welcome. Abilis. Sorry, I don't want to say it wrong, but yeah, you're welcome. I'm glad. Yeah, I love my teaching style too. I don't know, it works and I enjoy myself, and I also like don't feel crazy overworked, because my first year when I started doing when I was new and I was not as strong on the EduProtocols, I would feel very overwhelmed. It was difficult for me to like enjoy time with family right before a break would end. I didn't want to do anything on Sundays but like lay on the floor. So once I got into EduProtocols and got into that step, I feel like I got my life back, and it is sustainable to be a teacher and still enjoy other things and go places on the weekends and not have this like dread or worry or fear that like you're not going to have enough, or that you're constantly looking for things. So I'm all things EduProtocols. If anybody has any questions about any of the EduProtocols, I'm happy to be a resource. If right now, if you want to unmute or bounce ideas. Looking forward to creating this for my 6th graders. Yes. In math intervention, I am actually specifically working with the 6th grade right now. So they just got out of their rates and ratios unit, and they're headed into percents, which can also be taught as a ratio as well. So with percents, you could even add in like a tax factor, and Google Gemini could probably help you with that. Yes, I can get the link for the EduProtocols template that I mentioned. It is actually earlier in the chat. my other presentation finished. Here we are. Nope, that's the schedule. Getting there. EduProtocolsPlus.com/sampler. There we go. And I'll show that here real quick since we have it. So you'd put in your email address here, and then you can get all of these templates. There's the random emoji. Yeah, everything is here that you would need to access for free. And thank you guys for coming. I'll give you time to get to John's session and go hang out with him for our last little bit of the day. And then hopefully we can all go do something fun that's not on the computers. You're welcome. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Christina. And I do, if anybody wants to be Facebook friends, I've given up on the whole, like, Facebook is my personal place. Facebook has become my EduProtocols place. So I will add anyone and everyone. And if you want to like message about EduProtocols or questions, you can do that as well. I'm also on X, the former Twitter, Teaching with Turnbull. And then I'm on TikTok, but that's not for good quality academic content. That's more like self-deprecating humor. But if you want EduProtocols, X or Facebook, let me know. Thank you, Chris. All right, and then I need to make sure I get everyone off the room so that I can go and make sure this was recorded. Oh, what if it wasn't recorded? That'd be awkward. Okay. Put in the waiting room. And then end.